Hello guys, I'm George and welcome to my first vlog, which I guess is just me talking to myself. And keeping in that narcissistic vein, this time I'll be talking about myself and my channel. When people talk about themselves, they never do. They just talk about their job. I've never had anyone come up to me and say, "Oh hello, I've got a schizoid personality type, nice to meet you." So I'll tell you about my job. I'm a part-time office droid who works remotely, and prior to that I worked in the British film industry as an office droid. Well, actually, I didn't even work in it properly, I just kind of involved. The reason I had to leave was because I couldn't afford to work for free anymore. You know, I don't want this blog to turn into hate about the British film industry, but my top 10 bastards who I've met are from the British film industry. And I've met Tony Blair. Of course, there are lots of good people, and most people who crew are pretty decent. But in the pre-production and where the money is, well. And this brings me to my channel because I definitely have an education in film and I kind of knew what I was doing and I certainly have connections, but I'd rather do this. And the reason is about 7 years ago, I met a woman in a bar. Maybe I should rephrase that. I met Gordon Ramsay's producer in a bar, and she was extremely proud of having produced his TV series, Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, which, if you haven't seen it, it's basically a tall blonde man shouting at people about this close to their face because they've been working in a restaurant for 70 hours a week for 40 years and they've burnt out. It's pretty good. I really recommend it. So Gordon goes into a restaurant that's not doing too well. He goes into the kitchen. The kitchen's full of mould and rats and people who can't be bothered. And he says, "What are you thinking?" in no uncertain terms. You know, thinking about Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, I kind of really want to watch it now. Maybe this is the end of the blog. Thanks for tuning in. And you know it's what I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch Amy's Bakery. Click on the link. Click on the link. It's an episode of it. Well, anyway, I met Gordon Ramsay's producer. And although she was very proud of Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, and she should be, because that's something that she's made, and she brought Gordon Ramsay from a fairly obscure celebrity chef to a household name, at least in some households, definitely in some restaurants. But she was the most bitter woman that I've ever met. I mean, talking to her was like talking to a bulldog chewing a bee, or an arsehole sucking a lemon, or a man with braces and magnetised lips. She wasn't very pleasant, and I guess it probably was an off day. I mean, I don't really want to shit on this woman. This is the only time I met her. I couldn't even tell you her name, although I guess I could look it up, but I'm not going to. My friend was setting up his own production company with his wife in their cellar. I don't know why it had to be underground, but anyway, he was doing it. And she took real umbrage with that because it had taken her 14 years to set up her production company. While I was talking to her, I began to figure out what had happened and why she was so pissed off. She'd set up Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, and that had been a real triumph for her in the beginning. But I think that she'd always wanted it to be a stepping stone to something else. The impression I got from this lady was that she wanted to produce films, and it had never happened for her. The only thing she'd ever done was Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares, and for whatever reason she couldn't move on. The only reason she did it was to do something else. And I always think about that lady because she was really bitter and she wasn't pleasant to talk to. But I felt sorry for her because she wanted to do something more and she couldn't do it. And I've seen that time and time again, not just in the film industry, but everywhere. People doing something because they think it will lead them somewhere, and only doing it because of that. They think it's the bridge to a better life or a better job. And you know, you can really waste your time doing that. You can really waste a lot of your life doing that. I knew someone who wanted to set up a camera shop, and they worked out how much money it would take for them to do it, and for the shop to survive for a year, and I don't know what it was. Say it was 25 grand. So they began saving, and they were an accountant by trade. And they said, well, in 3 years I'll have enough money, and I'll do it. And that was about 12 years ago. Because the guy got married, he had kids, they moved into a bigger house, he had a bigger mortgage, got a better car. And I guess maybe one day he'll do it. But he's deferred that, and he didn't have to defer it. And that's what I don't want to do, and that's why I set up this channel. And if I'm honest with you, and I'm trying to be as honest as possible about most things, I'm doing this channel for selfish reasons. I know YouTube, in all its correspondences and help desks and everything it does, it's all about engage your audience and adapt to them and meet their expectations. And I do want to engage an audience, and I hope you check out my stuff, and I really hope you like it. But I'm making this stuff because I find it valuable and I want to make it. I love it. I love doing it. So I guess really my channel is me creating stuff that I would want to watch. At the moment I release 4 videos a week. I release 1 Minute to Midnight, which is a series of facts woven together in a very basic narrative. And it's an attempt at completely unbiased reporting on world news events such as the Venezuelan food crisis or the death of Muhammad Ali. And with it, I don't try to really present any analysis. I usually present a little at the end, but really it's just a history and just the facts. And then midway through the week, I release Bilgewater, which is, I suppose, really the complete opposite of 1 Minute to Midnight.
Dear Oprah, could you give me some advice on keeping bees?
Bilgewater is me having fun with a character who writes open letters to various well-known people and organisations in a confused way. And also he's a Napoleonic Lieutenant Colonel, obviously. And then there's Rumour Control, which is the newest addition to the regulars, and that is essentially satirical propaganda. I enjoy Rumour Control because it allows me to create a certain tone through visuals and sound. And then there's Just a Thought, which is caffeinated stop-motion comedy, which is essentially a comedy routine with bits of stream of consciousness in it that I speed speak. And those 4 will continue to be released every week. And around about November I'll be releasing a podcast with Damien, who's the voice in Diary of a Hipster, which I highly recommend because I made it, because he does a really good job in it. So I'm trying to up the ante, and I think that will be more possible when I do leave my job, and I'm not sure exactly when that will be, but it should be before the podcast, to around 5 or 6 videos a week. One of them probably will be a blog, although I suppose I could do one a day if I start doing beard sounds. Welcome to the natural sound of the beard. Sometimes I forget I have a beard. Oh god, this isn't anything to do with anything, but I've just remembered this. I was a script supervisor on a short film that I wasn't paid for or even given expenses for, but took 10 days to make. And I worked about 18 hours on a day. In February in the freezing cold in the countryside. And the crew were trying to get shots of deer. They asked me to get some deer food from a hot dog stand they'd seen about 5 miles away. Get some deer food. Well, that's the end of the video. Please like, comment and subscribe.